I know I won't stop if you give me the keys. 'Cause I could drive it like I'm a criminal. I won't watch if you want me to leave.
Okay, so if there's anything you should know about me, it's that I am a snacker. I don't even care if it's sweet, savory, fruit, vegetables, chocolate, candy, anything. I am a snacker. I love to snack. So today I've decided that I would share two of my recipes. One is a rolled oats cookie and the other one is some chocolate fruit and nut bark. So I hope you enjoy this, and without further ado, we'll get started. So the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 160 fan force. So I'm just going to do that, and you also want to line a baking tray with some baking paper. So next thing you want to do is melt some coconut oil, 1/4 cup. So I've already melted mine. I've also added in some vanilla essence. So I did about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half. I also melted 1/4 cup of sugar-free maple syrup. I've already mixed mine into a little bowl. I just like to warm up the maple syrup. It's not necessary, but that's just what I like to do. I'm just going to give that a little mix to ensure that it's all mixed together. Next, you want 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Then you want to give that a little whisk. Okay, so just add a little bit of salt. Give it another little whisk. Then you want to add 1 cup of rolled oats. Half a cup of almond meal. So your mixture is going to start to feel a little bit dry, but that's how we want it at the moment. Then we want to add half a cup of desiccated coconut. Okay, so because your mixture is a little bit dry, which is how it's supposed to be, you want to add just a little bit of warm water. So that's 1 tablespoon. I'm going to give that a little mix, see how it's looking. So you can add between 2 to 3 tablespoons of water. You don't want to add too much, otherwise it becomes really quite wet and the cookies won't stay formed together once they're baked. Okay, so this is the fun part. You want to slightly dampen your hands just so the maple syrup doesn't stick. Give it another quick little stir. Make sure that all the ingredients are mixed together. And then you basically just want to form little balls. And then just press them down. So you want to keep some height in your cookie, but you also want it to be able to cook all the way through. So you don't want it too thick. So depending on the size of your cookies, you should end up with about 8 to 10. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly wash my hands because they're very sticky. Okay, so they're all done. We're gonna pop them in the oven now. And you wanna cook them for about 15 to 20 minutes. So maybe check around the 15-minute mark and see how they're going. They should be golden and starting to get a little bit crunchy on the outside. So while they're baking, I'm just gonna clean up this and then I'm going to make the chocolate bark. So I like to make a few different snacks and desserts and little treats to have throughout the week. Otherwise, I find myself heading to the supermarket and getting Doritos and Skittles. Okay, so next we're gonna move on to the chocolate bark. So I've got 2 blocks of chocolate. I'm just gonna put some boiling water into a pot. So the trick here is to ensure that your stovetop's turned on. But the trick here is to ensure that the boiling water doesn't touch the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so I'm also gonna add some coconut oil to the melting chocolate. It's about, I don't know, a bit of a teaspoon. It just makes the chocolate creamier and smoother and gives it a real silky look. So when you're making a dessert like this, it's always best to buy really good quality chocolate and really good ingredients. You really want the flavor to come through of all the nuts and the fruit that we're going to use. So now that our chocolate's all melted, we're going to take it off the water. Okay, so we're going to start prepping our nuts now. We're just going to add a little bit of pink Himalayan salt to the chocolate. I love pink Himalayan salt with chocolate. It just enhances the flavor even more. Okay, so we're going to chop some of our nuts. We've got some almonds here. We don't want our fruit and nuts to be too chunky, so we're just going to roughly chop them. Just listen to that crunch. So these are roasted almonds. Okay, next is some macadamias. So you don't want to chop the nuts too small because you still want to be able to see what kind of nuts you're actually eating. Especially if you're giving this as a gift. I've done that before. I've made this chocolate bark at Christmas time and I actually wrapped it up in some baking paper. So now we have some hazelnuts. I love chocolate with hazelnuts in it. And then the last thing we have is cranberries. You can pretty much add any kind of nuts and fruit that you like to this. Okay, so now you just want to give that a really good stir. Okay, so now that we've added all the nuts in and the fruit, we're gonna add in a little bit of coconut. Now, normally I would like coconut, like slices or like chunks of coconut, but this is all I have at the moment, so we're just gonna go with little bits of coconut. So I'm just gonna do like a little sprinkle. I don't want too much coconut. So about that much. Give that another stir. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells amazing. Okay, so now that it's all mixed, you just want to get a plate with some baking paper on it. And then you just want to tip it out. And then just spread it out. Now you want this to be a little bit, not thin, but you also don't want it to be too thick, because the thicker it is, trust me, the harder it is to break. Okay, so your last step is to get the bark out of the fridge or the freezer. So you want to get it out and leave it out for a little bit before trying to break it. And yeah, you simply just, there's no real fashion to it. You just kind of stick the knife in and break away pieces. So I don't want it to look too neat. I want it to be rustic looking. And this is the final product. So the cookies have been baking for about 18 minutes. And as you can see, they're nice and golden. So they're soft to touch, but crunchy on the outside. And that's exactly how they should be. So these cookies are sugar-free, which is the best bit about them. They're guilt-free. So you just want to let them cool down for about 5-10 minutes. It's kind of hard to resist because who doesn't love a freshly baked cookie? But yeah, you just kind of want to let them cool down for 5 to 10 minutes on the baking tray. Then you can put them in an airtight container and they should last, if you don't eat them all in one day, like me, they should last between 3 to 4 days